So thanks everybody for joining us to our ongoing series on the Alma 2022 Roadmap and Themes webinar series. This is part of our ongoing series for the roadmap themes. We have a page here dedicated to this webinar series, the Alma 2022 Roadmap and Webinar Series. In case there's anyone out there who doesn't already have that linked or know how to get it, I'm going to send that out to everybody now in the chat so you've got the link. And just to put the whole series into perspective, where are we? What have we done? We already had a session on January 18th on the library independence theme, where we showed, among other developments there, the ability to send letters per library, the patron-facing letters, the ability to have icons per library, loans, fulfillment activities per library. Then February 15th, just last week, we did the controlled digital lending, very hot topic, not only here at Ex Libris, but also in the library world. And today we're at the catalog analysis best practices. And let's jump right in. I'm joined today by my colleague, Rafael Gabay from Alma Product Management, and he'll be speaking also briefly at the beginning of this session. The vast majority of this session, I would say 96, 97%, we're going to be in Alma showing it. Before that, we're just going to get an overview and perspective. If you have questions or comments during the session, send them in, please, in the chat. You can send in anything you'd like. We will not mention or show your name, so you can say anything you want. No one will know it's you. And let's begin. So we're exploring in this session ways to discover the catalog. When we say discover the catalog, we mean both on a micro level and on a macro level. When we say micro level, to get right into the details, not only for indexed fields, but for any field, whether it be a control field that you want to know a certain position, if a certain character exists or doesn't exist, or for a field which may or may not be indexed, if you want to know if it exists, if it doesn't exist, if it contains a phrase, doesn't contain a phrase, etc. We're going to be seeing that with the indication rules, which you already are familiar with, but we have a new method of creating and a new method of using the indication rules. We're going to be talking about three topics: the physical holding search and the corresponding search results for the physical holding search. It's the beginning of a new trend. Then we'll be talking about the indication rules, using a form to create them, and then being able to run those indication rules at the time of creating a set, rather than first creating the set and then going into the indication rules. And then obtaining a high-level overview of the catalog, of the repository, and getting an overview of what we have in digital, what we have in electronic, what we have in physical, etc. I just received a chat that someone lost my sound. I think it's local because only one person said it. Do the rest of you hear me all right? Sorry to keep asking, but I just want to make sure. Anybody else lose me, or do other people hear me? Just say, yes, we hear you if you still hear me. Everybody is saying they hear me fine. So person who lost me, it's apparently on your end. And I'm going to turn this over now to my colleague, Rafael Gabay from Alma Product Management. Rafael, take it away.
All right, thank you, Yoel. So as Yoel said, I'm a product manager in Alma, and I'm in charge of analytics and user experience. And before Yoel starts presenting, I would like to give you an introduction, a kind of panoramic view of what Yoel will be presenting today. So when we talk about the catalog analysis in Alma, we offer a collection of tools, or let's say flows, that can be bidirectional and can evolve from a micro, very basic search to a complex analysis and viewing data at a macro level. but it can also work the other way around, that we start with a report that was created in analytics and then go into the micro details after it was uploaded as a set in Alma. So if we start by looking at our basic search tool, it includes a large quantity of predefined indexes, and that can be used both for simple and advanced searches. While the advanced search is in the process of being improved, as Yoel mentioned, for complex searches, and we're starting with the holding search first, and you'll see that today, which, by the way, will be released in this March release. Of course, these searches can be then saved as sets for further analysis and a lot more actions. Next, we can go up a level, and we have the indication rules, which allow us to filter by any value in the metadata. And this can be done using Drool, which demands some level of know-how, but in the coming months, we'll be offering a new way, which is basically a form instead of Drool, and it will make filtering by value a lot more straightforward and simple. And the last aspect that we have here is analytics, which is, as you may know, right, most of you probably know, is a third-party tool. Yet it is still very connected to Alma, but because it's still a separate tool, it does have some limitations. It's also an opportunity to emphasize that analytics is really designed as an aggregation tool, as a tool for gathering statistics in the macro level to allow you to see the big picture. But of course, you can also do analysis on, it does have capabilities to analyze metadata, but that metadata is limited to whatever was flattened, or in other words, transferred to analytics. In any case, as I mentioned before, this is again a bidirectional flow. Therefore, a report that was created in analytics can be uploaded to Alma as a set. And there you can go through more filtering and again see those little micro details using indication rules, reaching values that you couldn't reach through analytics. And just one more thing that is worth mentioning, that working within Alma versus analytics offers the benefit of using operational storage rather than analytic storage. And that means that it's real-time data stored in Alma, and it's not data that depends on the nightly or even sometimes weekly ETL. So I hope that with this introduction, you get a high-level idea of how we see these tools as a collection that is supposed to help you with catalog analysis. And now we'll dive into the details with the more interesting stuff. So Yoel, the stage is yours.
Thanks a lot. Okay, so let's just jump right in. Enough talking, enough PowerPoints. We're going to begin with the physical holdings advanced search. So I'm going to access the advanced search up here on the top left, the icon next to the logo to the left of the search, and I'm in the advanced search. And if I choose physical holdings, we'll see that we have a new type of screen here. In fact, I'm going to take a picture of this screen because this screen is also the same setup as the screen which we're going to have when we see how to create indication rules via forms. And I'm going to focus right now on these three buttons right here. Let's go take a look. So this is the advanced search. We have an option here to add a rule, to add a group, and to run the search. And let's begin by doing a first search. Inside here, I'm going to choose title. And I can come title, I'm going to choose first on the bibliographic level. My results are all going to be focused on the holdings record, but I'm going to search by the title of the bibliographic record, and I can come in here and scroll down in the alphabetical order until I get title and grab it. Or I could come, I'm going to add a rule here. I could come and begin searching for a field. I wrote perm and I get permanent call number type, permanent physical location. So I can either get it from the list or I can start typing in order to get the field. I'm going to remove this one now because I don't want this extra line here. I'm just going to begin by one search, and we'll search, for example, for all titles which contain Schneier Zalman of Liadi. And I'm going to click the run here in order to perform the search. And we'll get our results, and we see that there are 8 records. We're going to talk more about this screen as we go on, so I'm not going to focus right now on the actual search results. First, we're going to focus on the way to do the searches. Then we're going to focus on the results. Already, you can see something different than the other types of advanced searches. Here, for example, I don't have a link on top, and we're going to see why. I don't have a link on top that I can click to continue the search. For example, if I had done an all titles advanced search or any of the other advanced searches, and I had said here title contains keywords Schneier-Zalman of Liadi. I think I'm going to take that into my mouse meanwhile and perform the search here. First of all, you see a completely different screen. You don't see on top, I'm going to go back to the picture, something like this with the add group, add subgroup, and run. And you don't see the fields in this manner. You see it differently like this. And here, after we perform the search, we have a link on top that we can click. And if I click that link, it brings me back to the previous search I did. When we do the advanced search, however, in the physical holdings, it automatically remembers what my previous search is. I'll show you what we mean here. Here, let's get the title. And after the search is performed, if I just click again to go to the advanced search, it already remembers what I had. So every time we go to the advanced search, we see the query which we did before. Now let's add to this. So we can add to this either a group, and we'll talk about a group in a moment, or any other kind of field. For example, here let's search by subject. So I can add another rule here, this add rule, either by clicking this button here, the add rule, and now I've got another line that I can use to do an additional search, or I'm going to remove this one now, or I can add another line by clicking the plus here. Now I've got another line and I can add to the search. I'm going to remove this again. Or I can duplicate this one or copy this one. And now I have the rule again, and then I can start manipulating that one. So there's 3 ways to add another rule. I can click the plus here, I can click the plus here, or I can just duplicate this rule. Let's now add a rule from here. And I'm still going to search now on the bibliographic level. And let's say now I want to search by subject. So I'll say subjects. Here it is. And I'll say also subject. So now I'm searching the title has Schneier-Zalman of Liadi, and the title has it. Both the title and the subject. I've got the and. I do a search. And again, I get 8 records, which means all of these records have it in the title and the subject. Let's go back again, and I can change this Boolean operator to an or. So here, I'm going to click the and. On the left here, you can see if I put my mouse on it, it becomes active. And then if I click it, now I can choose either and, or I can choose or. So I'll change this to or. Now I've changed my Boolean search to an or with the 2 conditions. We'll click the run button. And now we've got 9 records. So that means of these 9 records, 8 of them have it in the title, and 1 of them has it only in the subject. Let's go back now. And we can also start mixing here, of course, from the title level, from the item level, from the holdings level. So I'm going to remove this one here from the title. And for example, I can take it from the call number, I can take it from the library, all different kinds of places. Let's search this and say, now I want only those which have BM755 in the call number. So we can go more in depth here, and I'll add a rule. And this time I'll say I want the permanent call number to contain keywords BM, I forgot what it was, 177 was it? We'll find out in a moment. And I'll also add a rule and say the permanent call number type is Library of Congress classification. Let's search here. Now, if you notice, they all had OR on purpose. So now I'm going to get a lot of records because now I'm searching any of those conditions can exist. Let's go back and we're going to change that to AND. The reason it had OR is it remembers the previous search. So let's put this back to AND. So now this should be a BM and a search. Ooh, no records found. Let's see why. I believe it's because of this one. I'm going to get rid of that. I put in the wrong call number. BM 755, someone tells me. Thanks a lot. I'm going to assume that person is correct. And as a BM 755, did you say? Permanent. I just saw it pop up real quick. Permanent call number contains keywords BM 755 and run. Thanks a lot for the tip. So now we have everything with all of the AND conditions together. The title contains BM 755. Excuse me, the call number contains BM 755. The title contains Schneier Zalman of Liadi. And the call number type is Library of Congress. That's a very basic type of search, even though it's Boolean and it's getting from the holdings level, it's getting from the title level. I can drill down into the item level as well. But I'm not doing what we call a nested search, a search inside a search, and that's what we're going to look at now. Somebody asked, by the way, if a not can be done here. A not cannot be done here. Inside the holding search here, you can do an and or a or. If you want to do a not, you can also save the two sets and filter them together and say in this set and not in this set. It is possible to do a not, but not via the physical holdings advanced search or any of the advanced searches. So now I'm going to do an inside nested search, and we'll see what we mean here. So I'm still going to keep the title here, and now I'm going to choose add group, and you'll see the add group now is inside. It's indented, we'll say. And let's say now I want to drill down to something very specific, the binding note. For those of you who may not be familiar with the binding note, it comes from the 563A. I'll say binding note, Alma, Ex Libris, search indexes, Mark 21, and I get right in there. So just to show that I'm searching an index that goes to a very specific location, I'll go here to the Mark 21 holdings tags, and you'll see that the 563A is the binding note. So that's what we're going to search now, the binding note. I see there's more questions. I'm going to go into those questions later instead of keep stopping. And let's see. There we are. So let's say here I want the binding note. And again, I can go searching through all of the fields, or it's much easier to just start typing. And I'm going to say the binding note contains keywords sheep. Then I'll say binding notes contains keywords calf. You're probably thinking, what kind of a binding note contains sheep and calf? But we'll see. And let's search on that one. Now, I'm not going to get results here, but I want to show it anyway because on purpose, I want to show the difference between my and the or later. It's not a mistake. I'm showing something on purpose. Okay, no records were found. Now I'm going to go back And I'm going to change this inside group where it says add group. A nested group is really what it is. I'm going to change this and to or. So I clicked the and. Now I can choose the or. Now I'm going to do the search. So now I'm saying the title contains Schneer's Alman of Liadi, and inside brackets, the binding note can contain sheep or the binding note can contain calf. And we'll see that inside the search string on top. Let's search for that. And now I've got two of them. And you can see up here, we've got, I'll put this now into Microsoft Word so I can make it bigger so everyone can see, and I'll point it out. So now we're saying the title contains something, and then inside this whole search, we've got a nested search here inside the parentheses, inside the parentheses. So we've got a search inside a search. Those of you who may have been around in previous legacy systems, and I see there's some people who have been around for a while who will remember perhaps the CCL, the Common Command Language that used to be in the web OPACs. So this is similar to being able to type something like that and really get into the detail, a search inside a search. So all of these will have sheep or calf inside the holdings record. I'm going to get into viewing. Sorry, I stuck my hand right on the camera. Sorry. I'm going to get into the details of how to handle the search results, but let's just take a look quickly at this holdings record view. So this one here has leather sheep binding with gold engraving in the fifth 563A. So that's got the sheep. And this one here has the calf in the 563, late 20th century leather calf binding. Now, we can do more than that. I'm going to go back to the advanced search here. I'm going to click the icon here. When I just did that search a moment ago, I had clicked this run up here on top. I could also just do the nested search, the group search here. So I'll click the run here. And now I've got 4 records because now I'm not concerned with what's in the title. I'm only looking at the holdings record. And all of these are old William Shakespeare ones from 1623. Let's take a look. View. So this one's got late 18th century English gilt tooled calf. That's in the binding note. These are real binding notes, by the way. These two here. And this one here as well, view. And it will also in the 563A have, there it is. It's got 17th century English Oxford smooth calf. Bound for the Bodleian Library by William Goldgoose. Wild Goose. So I could have actually even made my search, I see, even more in depth. Let me add another one here. I could also, that wasn't even planned. That's like a serendipitous, I think they call that search. So here, I could also search for wild goose. So now I've got sheep, calf, and wild goose, and I can go just on that search there. And I've got them as well. Okay, I see a lot of questions came in. That's the basics of this search. We're going to see, I'm going to take another picture of this now, because we're going to see when we create the indication rules via a form, we can also do the nested search. And let me go take a look at the questions. And my colleague Raphael here will also be able to assist us. Let's take a look into the chat. I have audio problems. Okay, that we can't answer. Let me make this a little larger. Okay, what happens when you do the search by hitting enter? No, if you do enter, the search will not occur. If Rafi wants to state anything about possible plans for that, go ahead, Rafi. But right now, if I'm in here where I am now. If I do enter, I'm hitting enter. You can hear my enter maybe. Oh, wait a minute. Did it just do it? I'm going to change it a bit here just to see. Oh, no, it's not. You got to click the run button. Here, I need to click this run button. Let me just make sure of that. I'm going to do a very simple search here. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to say title contains keywords bibliometrics. Enter. No, you got to click the button. Will forms for indication rules, I'm going to leave that until we get to it. Another one, will forms for indication rules, I'm going to leave that until we get to it. Can institution admins create standard reports created for anyone in the institution to use? Let's stay away from the creation of standard reports right now. Let's focus on the physical holding search. I don't want to jump into another topic. This is not for creating reports right now. This is for repository search results. You mentioned this will be rolled out to the physical searches next month. What's the time frame for the rollout of the other searches? Okay, Rafi, I'm going to let you take this one. Here it is on the screen. Let me justify that left to right. Go ahead.
So actually, it demands a lot of development. So even though this is definitely the trend and this is where we're heading, I can't tell you at this point when it's going to happen. I can tell you that that's where we are going, but it's probably more than a few months. It's probably more like most of the changes might occur at the end of 22, probably more at around 23.
Okay. Somebody asks here, can you have, let's go paste it here. Can you have both Booleans, for example, one and one or? That was probably asked before I did the example. Yes, you can have an and and an or like we saw. I had a nested search with an or inside a larger and, so the answer is yes. Okay, let's now focus on the results of the physical holding search and let's see what the story is. So I'm going to go back to another search. Let's do again, oops, the Schneier Zalman of Liadi. And let's see. See, I just did enter to make sure. No, you got to click the button. Or tab until you get to it. You don't have to touch the mouse, but you can't do enter. The tab always moves around to the different places, and you can tab until you get there. Rafi, if you want to comment on anything about that, feel free. The fact that we're clicking on the run button.
Yeah, so generally that is a typical case to try to bring up with user experience focus group. You know, if you can get to someone through there, and then it's a way to bring it up, and then we can consider it. Okay. Or of course, yeah, I think that probably would be the best way.
Okay, so now we're in the search results, and we're in a search result called split view medium list. What we're looking at now is split view medium list. And these, we're going to see why it's called split view medium list in a moment. We've got here the facets on the left. Like in the metadata editor, where you can take the navigation pane of the metadata editor and close it. Here also, on the bottom left, you can see this arrow here, which collapses that. I'm going to uncollapse it now by clicking the expand. There's a lot of places in Alma, by the way, where we've got that. Same thing here. I just clicked this menu here. I clicked up here where it says Alma. Same thing here, collapse and expand here. So same thing in the search here. I've got bottom left collapse and expand. All of these can be changed with the size here. I'm going to reduce my resolution just a tad here. And so this can go closed altogether. and that's going to be what's called the full page view. On the left, I've got the holdings records. On the right, I've got the title of the corresponding holdings record. This is the title of the holdings record that I've selected on the left. If I select now the next one under it, now I've got the title for that holdings record. I can also go through the records on the right by clicking here, next item, previous item. It may be small in your WebEx screen, but those two arrows going up and down say previous item, next item. So if I click here, the next item, it's going down to the next one. So I don't need to go scroll and use my mouse to go through them all. I could use my mouse here, scroll, go through, and start selecting. However, it's enough here to click previous item and next item. Each of the records on the right, I'm going to make the resolution now a little larger so I can make sure you see what I'm doing here. Each of the records on the right is divided into 3 different sections: the header, the description, and the list of items. And we can get to those by scrolling up and down, or in the sections here, we can say I want to go right to the list of items and it goes to the bottom, or I can go to the header and it comes up to the top, or I can go to the description, and that will be most useful for cases where it's very long, the description. I mentioned earlier that we're in split view medium list. And the reason we're in split view medium list is if we click here, this icon here that looks like columns, here I can determine what kind of columns I want. So now I'm in split view, and within that split view, I'm clicking the arrow next to it, I'm in medium list. Narrow list makes the holdings records narrow, and split view wide list makes the holdings records wide, and split view medium list is what I prefer, but you know, everybody's whatever they'd like. Then we've also got the option to view a list, which is more similar to the previous ones. I'm clicking list view. This is more like the list you're familiar with from the past. And a full page view. Let's now, I see there's a lot of questions coming in, but I want to make sure we get to the indication rules because I'm sure you're going to also want the indication rules. Let me just go in the chat and see if it's the same questions coming up, because then we know it's a popular question. Someone says, once I get my results, is there a way to deselect from the results list the titles that I'm not interested in? No. However, you can save it as a set, and then you can do that. You can save it as an itemized set and then start playing around with your set. From here, I can't say here in my results, oh, number 2, I want out of there. You can, however, take certain ones. If we're already talking about selecting, you can select specific ones, push it to the metadata editor. That's something you can do with the select. Now, 2 holdings records went to the metadata editor. We can also, let me go back to the split medium list, split view medium list. We can also from here, let me collapse that one. We can also from here directly edit a record. And that will open up the metadata editor. So now I'm going to have that record opened in the edit mode. And I'll have the 2 holdings records, which I already pushed. And we can already see that there are 3 holdings records here. I'm going to click the holdings. So we have 2 which were pushed and 1 which we clicked edit on now. Let me release those. And while I'm at it, I will release these. Okay, let's just go take a look again at the questions just to see if there's anything coming up. But I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer all of the questions. Definitely not those asking what's going on with the Salesforce case. Someone says, you mentioned this will be rolled out next month with a physical holy. What's the time frame to roll out the other searches? I believe Raphael already answered that with in the next months without an actual date. Within the next months, it will be spreading to the other searches. It's all tentative. There's no hard-coded dates on that. What happens when you do the search by hitting enter? We stated when you do enter, it's not doing it. You need to click it. Will the advanced holdings search type be applied to other repository searches in the future? Yes, without a specific time frame, it will be applied. Okay, so let's move on now. Someone points out that the export is not operational. That's correct. And there was something on the Alma list about that, and there's a Salesforce case. The export to Excel here has not finished the development. So that cannot be done right now. That will be able to be done shortly, but not right now. Okay, let's move on. I'm very glad there's a lot of interest, but with 1 hour, you know, we're always considering doing it an hour and a half, but the general consensus was that's too long. All of our sessions, we never have time to fill the whole hour, but what can you do? Better this way than we sit around and we're bored and don't have anything to do. Let's move on now to the indication rules. So indication rules are still created in the metadata editor. And let me point out that you can still do the indication rules the way you know and love from now. I'm going to say Alma indication rule examples just to point out. Now when an indication rule is made, you either copy and paste or duplicate one or write from scratch. Really, it's like code. You say rule and then when something, then something, and there's all kinds of parameters. These are just examples here. And as many of you who may have played around with this know, if you make one little error, it won't work. If you forgot to close a parenthesis, if you forgot to include a position for an indicator, here I've got an example with a nested search inside when this or this or this or this, then this. So all of these can now be created via a form. And let's take a look at that. I'm going to show the metadata editor. Note we show the metadata editor. We don't open it. It's always open, which is why it is accessible so fast. And if I select rules here, and then I say new, now I can create a new rule. And let's create a new rule. I'll say new indication rule. At the current time, what I'm showing is for indication rules, not normalization rules, merge rules, brief level rules, authority headings rules, or discovery normalization rules. So indication, first of all, you see it's a whole new screen. Whereas we used to have a screen that looked like this. I'm opening a normalization rule. Now it's a new screen with more options, new indication rule. So I'm going to call this rule afternoon because for me this is the afternoon session. I'll call it afternoon. And let's look now. I'm going to get everything in a 650 second indicator 4 with the text bibliometrics. And we'll see why I'm doing it that way. I'm going to call it afternoon 650 underline 4, meaning second indicator. This is just a name. It has no bearing on the functionality of the rule. So it's afternoon 654 A, that's the subfield, bibliometrics. I'm just calling it something that will allow me to know what it is. And here I'll give it a description. I'll give it the same description. Now here's what's new. I can choose a form or the Drool that everybody already knows or the XSL that everybody already knows, but I'm staying with the form. I'm going to make this shared because we're going to see that we can automatically use this on a set at the time of search and save without needing to save and go back. We'll see that in a moment, but only if it's a shared one. If it's a private one, we can't do that. Now I'll choose record type bibliographic, and now it can be Unimark or Mark 21. I'm going to choose Mark 21. The majority of this crowd, I know there's some from Italy, etc., who are using Unimark. The majority, though, here is Mark 21. I'm going to use it with Mark 21 and save. And now we've got a very user-friendly form. You see the add rule, you see the add group. Soon after I actually have something and want to test it, you'll see that we'll also have the run button. So now again, I can choose a field exactly the same way as in the Physical Holdings Advanced Search. I click it and then I can just choose a field. I'm not choosing an index now, but I can start typing and choose the field. So I'll choose 650, and as you see, it gives the list with the actual name. It's giving the list of fields from the Mark profile. So I'm going to choose the 650, and I know exactly what it is. Indicators. My first indicator, I don't care what it is, so I'm going to not select anything. For indicator 2, I'll say I want 4, and I know exactly what the 4 means. Not specified. That's coming straight from the Mark profile. If we were to go into the Mark 21 official holdings data, not holdings data, huh? We just finished the holdings data. If I was going to go into the Mark 21 bibliographic data on the 650, and go to full. The second indicator is 4, source not specified, and that's exactly what we're seeing here, 4, source not specified, because that's in the Alma Mark 21 profile. And now I'm going to say I want it on subfield A. All of this, it's not just that it's easier to choose it this way, but it prevents errors because everything automatically goes in. I don't have to worry, oh, do I need a space or do I need regular parentheses or do I need the bracket style parentheses, etc. Let me make this a little bigger for everybody. And equals, I can say equals, starts with, contains phrase, whatever. I'll say starts with. Starts with would be the equivalent of the man-made way, the typing way, if you had written bibliometrics asterisk. So I'm going to say starts with, but I could say equals, I could say contains phrase. Contains phrase would be the equivalent of an asterisk before and after it. Okay, and here I'll say bibliometrics. So now I'll save it. So I have afternoon 654 bibliometrics, and we'll save. A lot of questions coming in. I see them. We'll answer. We have 15 minutes. Save. Rule was successfully saved. I'm going to do another one with the opposite. Doesn't have bibliometrics. So let's do a new one, new indication rule, so I can compare. And I'm going to call 650 for, I'm going to say no, 650 underline 4 bibliometrics. Again, we're using a form. Again, we're using shared. Again, we're using bibliographic Mark 21. Save. And now I'm going to say the 650. By the way, I can also type here like this if it's easier for me. I wouldn't recommend it. In fact, I'm not going to do it. I wouldn't recommend it because even though it looks so easy, and no, I'm not going to make a mistake. It's just a couple of characters. We all know where that leads. So I'm going to choose it from here. Done. Okay, so now I'm going to say not contains phrase or does not equal bibliometrics. Okay. And save. Now let's test this out before we run it. We're going to move fairly quickly here. So if I were to search now for subjects, let me just get any record here. Let's say physical titles, title, any. Just because I want any record. Just for this purpose of testing it. Someone asks, when will this be available? Rafi, you want to chime in there? When will the indication rule form be available?
Sure. So it will be available for testing for the people in the user experience focus group already in March release. And for everybody in production, it's expected for May,
Okay,
the May release.
thanks. So that's March for the user group, May for everybody. That's the tentative dates. So let's test that rule that we made now. So I've got any record open here, and I'm going to go to the split editor mode. So we have the record on one side, the rule on the other side. And on the left side here, I'll choose the rule. So I'll go to Rules, Indication Rules. We called it Afternoon. And let's take Afternoon Bibliometrics. Now this one here does not have a 650 second indicator for bibliometrics, so I'm expecting that when I test it, it's going to say false. Now note we've got the play here, or the try it. I call it play because those of you who may have used the MP players of once, it looks like a play button. So I'm going to try it. And sure enough, it says in the bottom here, false. It says try it, result false in the blue banner on the bottom. If I were to put in here now a 654 with bibliometrics, Bibliometrics, there we go. I'm not even going to save it. It works on what we call the working copy. It works on whatever's in the metadata editor. Now I'm going to run it. And now it says true. On the bottom here, it says true. Let's try the other rule where I say afternoon, no bibliometrics. Now if I run it, it should say false. False because I do have it. It says not contains phrase here, but it does contain the phrase in the record. So run, it's false. And if I get rid of this bibliometrics and call it something else, and now I run it, now it's true, as you see on the bottom here, because my record really doesn't have bibliometrics as a phrase in the 650 second indicator for subfield A. Now let's see how we can take these rules and automatically use them. Why is this useful? If I were to go again to the search indexes Alma Ex Libris, I'll even go into here because it'll bring me to the same spot. There is no existing index for 650 second indicator 4. We have indexes for Library of Congress subject heading with 650 second indicator 0, and for mesh with second indicator 2. But when I search subjects, I'm getting anything with these fields. And if I search subjects LC, I'll get ones with second indicator 0. And if I search subjects mesh, I'll get second indicator 2. There is no predefined, pre-existing index with second indicator 4. But I can use this indication rule now to do that. So for example, if I come back to Alma, let me get rid of my records here. I don't like to leave them hanging around like that. I always like to release. Okay, so if I were to do a search here, physical titles, subjects, bibliometrics, these have any kind of a 650. Could have a 4 second indicator, a 7 second indicator with a subfield 2, a 0, no indicator. But I want only those now with a second indicator 4. Maybe I want to find all of my not defined subjects, second indicator 4, and move them to a controlled vocabulary, for example. So while I have this result, it used to be just save query. Now it's save and filter query. So now I'm going to call this afternoon bibliometrics. just so we know this is the one we're making now. And instead of saying save, I've got a new filter here called Save and Filter. I'll click Save and Filter. And now I can filter this with the indication rule, which we just made. Let's look for afternoon. I'm going to say afternoon 6:50, second indicator for subfield A, bibliometrics. And I'll say afternoon bibliometrics has 6:50 for a bibliometrics. So it's creating another set under the set. Now note, this is a lot faster when I'm not stopping and explaining all the way. It's one quick flow where you take your set and you automatically filter it by something specific from an easy to make indication rule. And now I've got filter this set. So I created a set and I'm filtering on the set all in the same time. That's running a job to the output. Let me do another one just to show something. Afternoon, going to get that set. I could also filter this set and say has no 650 underline 4. So here I can say no 650 underline 4, and here I will call it has no. Filter this set. Now these sets are automatically running in the background and getting created, and we'll already see them here. Let's look for everything with afternoon. And great. So now this one, everything in this set, if I say members, everything in this set will have the bibliometrics in a 650 underline 4. I'm going to open this one up. 650 underline 4 bibliometrics. We'll open one more up. This one here will have a 650 underline 4 bibliometrics. When we go into the original set, back, the original set here, if I click edit, I can see all of the sets that have been created from a filter from it. I don't have to start remembering, wait a minute, what was my original set? What did I already create from it? On the bottom here, I see the ones that I've already created from the original set. Let's pop into, very, very briefly, our final topic in the very brief 6 minutes we got. I know I stopped sharing, but that's just for 1 minute. And let me pop into analytics. The last part here is where I want to show what can we do in analytics to get the large overview of the institution. So let me share again. Okay, we're sharing, share. There we go. So we're going to start with a default out-of-the-box dashboard. It's called Title Level Overlap Analysis, but we're not going to be looking at the overlap. I'm under Shared Folders, Alma Titles Dashboards. We're in the Title Subject area. And the title subject area includes all bibliographic records, regardless of the inventory type, and regardless of if there is inventory. So it's got has inventory, does not have inventory, and the inventory can be any type. I'm in the inventory breakdown tab, and it's giving me a breakdown of what do I have for titles with physical inventory, what do I have for those with electronic inventory? And what do I have for those with physical items or holdings records? Because I might have a holding record with no items. And what do I have for digital? The default is making it appear like this and having on the bottom a table. But let's make one using predefined measures where we want to get an overview now of the makeup of our catalog or our repository. I'm going to create an analysis in the title subject area. titles. And these are all predefined measures. We don't have to start doing all kinds of filters. In fact, I'm not going to do any filters in this whole report. So under title measures, I'll say I want the number of titles with physical items or holdings records. So that's physical inventory. Then I'll take all of those with an electronic portfolio, so that's electronic inventory. Then I'll take all of those with a digital representation, so those are digital inventory. So physical, electronic, and digital. Go to the results, and I'll have a table, but then we can make it look a lot nicer. I'll say, for example, that I wanted a pie chart. So I'll say, give me a graph of type pie. And let's click the pencil here and make our pie look nicer. And I'll just drag the measure labels to the slices. A slice of pie. Done. So now I've got a nice pie looking almost like the peace sign, I think. If the yellow one was just a little smaller. So now we've got number of titles physical, number of titles electronic. They look almost equal. It looks like there's slightly more electronic. And if we go look at the numbers, yes, the electronic is 1,200,000. The physical is 1,100,000. And then we've got the digital. I can also take this table and make it look nicer with an actual table, one on top of the other. Let's add that as a pivot table. Pivot table. And here again, we'll click the pencil, drag the measure labels to the rows. Done. Get rid of this one. So now we've got, let's put this table right next to the pie. So now we've got a nice overview of the makeup of the inventory in our institution. Let's put this out to a Fusion FX and take a look at it. I'm exporting here to Fusion FX. And now the institution has a nice overview of the makeup of their catalog. In this case, it's about half, or let's say about equal amounts of physical and electronic, and a decent size of digital. 1 minute left. Let me go take a look at the chats. How can you use analytics to search for physical and electronic inventory for the same title? That's a classic overlap analysis. Classic overlap analysis. Let's save that for another day. You can use the same dashboard we were in. It's called P&E. Are you planning to create a form for normalization rules too? Thanks for asking that. I meant to state that. Rafi, you want to take this one? Right now we have the form for the indication rules. Do we on the plans for doing it for the other rules?
I think that it is in the plans, but I don't have a schedule, unfortunately.
Okay, so
but I think it is. Yeah.
No tentative date on it.
No.
Oh, look at this one. This is amazing. Do you know how badly I need this? Thanks for slowing down a bit so I can follow. Okay, I'm glad to know it's useful. And we're at the end of our session. It's time to stop, unfortunately. If anyone wants to stick around, the person who asked, how can we use analytics to search for physical and electronic inventory, you who asked it, just let me make sure you're still here. Just tell me you're still here and I'll do it. Because if you already left, I don't want to do it. He or she is still here. So how can we do titles which have physical and electronic? Classic overlap analysis. We've had multiple sessions on that. We'll do one example, and I'm going to go to that same dashboard we were at, which is under Alma Titles Dashboards. I'm going to open it, and this is called overlap analysis, and we have overlap P and E. from physical and electronic, and I can search by word from title, by subject, by Dewey number, by LC classification code. I'm going to do LC classification code HQ. There's a lot more options here by loan date, etc. We'll click OK, and this is going to give us all of the titles. There's also different ways to determine the overlap by ISBN, by title, author, combined, etc. So these are all duplicates. For example, this one here, Arms and the Woman, Just Warriors and Greek Feminist Identity. You can see the titles are written slightly differently. One has a colon, one doesn't, but it's the same work by the same author. So if I were to go into Alma now and see this title in an all title search by title, we'll see that it has physical and electronic inventory. I probably should have removed that slash, but we're all right. Here we are. Here's Arms and the Woman with electronic, and here's Arms and the Woman with physical. So that's how we can do the overlap. Okay. So thanks a lot. Somebody says it would be good to have a session on the manipulation of the records in the sets. Okay. We're always looking for new ideas. I'm going to copy that one now. Actually, I've got a copy of this whole thing anyway, but I'm going to copy that. Thanks for the suggestion. And thanks, everybody. We'll be loading this to the YouTube and to all the pages where we load them, the Ex Libris Education and Webinars page. And thanks, everybody. We hope to see you in our next sessions. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.